Okay, I'm Chris, and today my architect saved me from my accountant.
Good day, good start to that day. Hi, I'm Rohit, and I'm largely made of tubes. That's a bizarre one to start on, but it does lead into this this particular pondering for today, which we're revisiting from before, actually. Now, why? Someone told me a long time ago that you can, and this might make it feel a bit derealised. You can look at yourself as just a big collection of tubes.
Okay.
It's a very medicalised, reductionist way of looking at things. But over time, just tubes of blood going around, tubes of nerves and electricity going around, tubes of air going in and out. You can see yourself largely of tubes. And that leads on to a way of thinking about brain processing and behaviour, which might be helpful. And that's if you compare it to the brain being like an intestinal tract. Now, it's a massive oversimplification, and it has worked for me sometimes in the past. Usually when I've kind of either been really over busy with something and I kind of just need a change, then I use this framework to think about it. And that's to kind of look at the three things, if you like, that an intestine's meant to do. Firstly, you've got to take in, or ingest, eat. Secondly, in the middle, you've got digestion. At the end, you've got to excrete. And essentially, that's the function of most tubes, isn't it? A tube is taking something in at one end, passing it along the middle, and it's got to come out the other end. And why not look at the brain and how we behave and what we're doing in a similar way? And if we do, are there things that we can use to help us? So, for example, if I take the ingestion as the learning about things or reading or watching, taking in information, that does actually need to be balanced with processing it. And then that's thinking about it, maybe discussing it with others, coming up with a plan. So really thinking about what we've taken in. And then at the other end is the excretion part of it, which is the actual doing in life. Getting things done. And that could be making a video like this, could be writing a paper and submitting it, could be going to work and pitching at a meeting, something like that. But that's the doing part of it. So you've got these three different components, and a bit like how we know from experience and we can intuit when the intestinal tract goes wrong. You can always think of there could be a problem with overeating, there could be a problem with the digestion in the middle, or there could be a problem with either constipation or diarrhoea at the other end. And so similarly, we could have similar things like the example I gave, where you're working too hard. Working too hard could be analogous to having diarrhoea, where actually you're just putting out so much that the other part of the balance, the tube's balance, isn't in balance. So you're not taking enough new things. You're not doing any digestion. You just go, 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 go. So when I found myself in that situation, I've thought about this framework and what do I need to readdress this? And actually, I found that the first thing I need to do is take myself out of doing, because I've probably done a lot. Now I just need to go somewhere different and do something totally different, whether that's watch an out there film that's bends my mind, or go to a totally new landscape, something like that, to rebalance that, and then maybe connect with people to digest it again, and then start a new type of doing. Because I've been doing the same thing for too long. How does that fit for you?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I would say I am thinking that sometimes the doing will bring in input of a certain type. And I do think there's generally in modern life, maybe it's the processing we're not doing. Processing experience. So I told you my mentor had got me doing a contemplation practice. And so basically sitting and as like I'm processing through my stomach, through my gut, my stomach. Not in a mind way, in a thinking way. I'm just processing my experience. Sitting there and letting the emotions move through, the thoughts float through. And I realised, I was just all in input or all in doing, but not much processing.
Exactly.
And it was hard to do for a while, to like just sit there not doing too much and feel as if you're operating from your stomach, really. So as someone with the background in that, is there some science to the fact that we process in the stomach experience?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's increasing evidence, really, that the gut-brain connection, there's lots of information both about how perceptions are changed by just feelings that we have, what we call interoception about our body and the rest of how the body is telling us that we're perceiving the world. But on top of that, there's even more data to say that even the bacteria lining our gut are having an influence on even the choices that we make, maybe the food choices that we make. So there's definitely a huge connection.
Yeah.
But this is purely just just thinking about it as a concept.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it last time about an example of the eating end when that can go wrong was like doom scrolling.
Is that not input end? Oh, that's sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that can be like the eating, smashing through 2 whole boxes of Krispy Kremes.
Yeah, and I actually think, so we tend to just be sat still when we're doing that, but I think that actually that requires you to there'll be some processing perhaps, but I think, especially if being like annoyed by social media comments or the news, I think it'd be kind of activating for the nervous system, so there'll be a certain amount of doing, like go for a walk.
If you do go for a walk, but if you don't, if you just move on to the next thing, then you're still at
ingestion. Well, that's what I mean, because it's mostly that happens when we're sat still on the sofa just scrolling. Actually, probably worth thinking that there's probably a bit of a payoff you need to do if you at some point.
If you're going to get angry about all the stuff you're eating, maybe go talk to someone about it. Maybe learn some skills in the digestive part of it, or maybe go for a walk to excrete to use the cortisol. Yeah, absolutely. But that balance needs to be there along the tube. So if you find yourself stuck at either one, maybe you can go to a different part and rebalance things.
Yeah, and I do think modern life is geared towards input and output, isn't it? Not so much the processing part, and certainly not no idea of this of using. You don't really hear of people talking about that setup. How I've done a load of this, I need to do that. It's normally I've done a load of this and now I've done a lot of work I should have. Why don't I feel? Or I've meditated. Why don't I feel? I think it's very transactional nowadays. And so I love this way of thinking about it all in balance.
I'll see how that fits for you.
Yes.